Imagine waking up every morning, carrying invisible weight. Before your feet even touch the floor, your mind is already replaying yesterday's conversations, worrying about tomorrow's uncertainties, and searching for validation from people who may never give it. You tell yourself that this is simply part of being human, that caring deeply means suffering deeply. Yet beneath all the noise lies a quiet truth. Much of our pain is not created by life itself, but by the way we cling to people, expectations, and outcomes beyond our control.
This is where the journey of emotional detachment begins, not as a lesson in becoming distant or uncaring, but as an invitation to become free. The first realization is both simple and profound. Emotional detachment does not ask us to stop loving. Instead, it teaches us to love without losing ourselves. It reminds us that compassion is strongest when it is rooted in stability rather than desperation. We often believe that attachment is proof of love, yet attachment frequently becomes fear. The fear of rejection, abandonment, failure, or disappointment. The more tightly we try to hold on to people or situations, the more fragile we become when life inevitably changes. As we move through life, countless moments quietly steal our peace. A message goes unanswered, and suddenly we imagine the worst. A colleague receives recognition we hoped for, and self-doubt begins whispering that we are not enough. A disagreement with someone we love turns into hours of replaying every word spoken. None of these events are inherently devastating. The suffering begins when our emotions write stories that reality never confirmed. The book explains that our minds are naturally wired for survival, not serenity. Thousands of years ago, reacting instantly to danger helped our ancestors stay alive. Today, however, the brain often treats emotional discomfort as if it were physical danger. A critical comment can trigger the same alarm system that once responded to predators. Before reason has a chance to speak, emotion has already taken control. We say words we regret, make impulsive decisions, and allow temporary feelings to shape permanent consequences. Understanding this changes everything. Rather than blaming ourselves for being emotional, we begin to understand that emotional reactions are habits. Habits can be interrupted, and new ones can be built. The journey toward mastery unfolds gradually. At first, we do not even notice our reactions. Every disappointment controls us, every criticism wounds us, and every compliment defines our worth. Later, awareness begins to grow. We catch ourselves overthinking. We notice our anger rising. We recognize our urge to defend ourselves, even if we still act on it. Eventually comes the most important transformation: the pause. In that tiny space between what happens and how we respond lies our greatest freedom. Instead of reacting immediately, we stop. We breathe. We observe what is happening both around us and within us. We ask ourselves whether we are responding to the present moment or reliving an old wound. Often, we discover that today's pain is carrying yesterday's fears. A delayed reply becomes a reminder of past rejection. A simple disagreement awakens childhood feelings of not being good enough. Awareness gently separates reality from imagination. With practice, calm begins replacing chaos. The book introduces simple yet powerful ways to strengthen this new mindset. One of the most effective is changing the stories we tell ourselves. Every event carries meaning only because we assign meaning to it. Losing an opportunity can become proof of failure, or it can become preparation for something greater. A mistake can become evidence of inadequacy, or it can become valuable feedback. The event remains the same, but the interpretation transforms the emotional experience. Equally important is learning to name our emotions instead of becoming them.
there is a profound difference between saying, "I am anxious," and saying, "I feel anxiety." The first makes emotion part of identity. The second recognizes emotion as a temporary visitor. Feelings come and go like changing weather, but the person experiencing them remains. The author reminds us that emotional mastery is never built during moments of crisis. It is built quietly through everyday habits. A rested mind reacts differently from an exhausted one. A healthy body regulates stress more effectively than one constantly running on poor sleep, caffeine, and tension. Anger no longer becomes something to suppress or unleash. Instead, it becomes information, revealing boundaries that need protection or values that deserve defending. Fear transforms from an enemy into a guide, pointing toward growth. Sadness becomes evidence that something meaningful existed, allowing compassion to deepen rather than bitterness to grow. Even frustration begins serving as a signal that a better approach is needed, instead of proof that success is impossible. The remarkable discovery is that emotions themselves are never the true problem. The real challenge lies in how we respond to them. Nowhere is this lesson tested more than in relationships. Many people mistake emotional dependence for love. They believe constant reassurance, control, or sacrifice demonstrates devotion. Yet genuine connection flourishes only when two whole individuals meet, rather than two incomplete people trying to fill each other's emptiness. Emotional intelligence teaches us to listen without immediately defending ourselves. It teaches us that another person's anger often reflects their own inner struggle rather than our worth. It encourages empathy without emotional absorption. We can care deeply while maintaining healthy boundaries. We can forgive without returning to harmful situations. We can let go without losing our capacity to love. Perhaps the most difficult relationship of all is the one we have with ourselves. Throughout life, many people carry an inner voice that criticizes every mistake and magnifies every weakness. This voice often originates from old experiences, unrealistic expectations, or years of comparing ourselves to others. Emotional freedom requires replacing this harsh inner critic with compassionate honesty. Instead of saying, "I'm a failure," we begin saying, "I made a mistake, and I can learn from it." Instead of believing nothing ever works out, we remind ourselves, this challenge is one chapter, not my entire story. With repetition, these new patterns slowly reshape the mind itself. Modern neuroscience confirms that the brain changes according to what it repeatedly practices. Every moment of awareness strengthens pathways associated with calm and weakens those driven by fear and impulsivity. Peace gradually stops feeling like something we occasionally achieve and becomes part of who we are. Eventually, the journey reaches its deepest level. Here, emotional mastery becomes more than psychology. It becomes a way of seeing life. Thoughts, feelings, victories, and losses all begin to resemble passing clouds across a vast sky. The sky itself remains untouched. Likewise, beneath every changing emotion exists a deeper awareness that remains steady. This awareness does not fight emotions or suppress them. It simply watches them arrive, stay for a while, and leave. This realization brings extraordinary freedom. Life continues to present disappointment, uncertainty, success, failure, joy, and grief. The storms never completely disappear. What changes is the person standing within them. Rather than demanding certainty, we learn to trust ourselves. Rather than seeking control over everything, we develop confidence that we can face whatever comes. We stop measuring our peace by external circumstances. and begin discovering it within our own responses. The final lesson of the book is beautifully simple. Emotional detachment is not about building walls around the heart. It is about building strength within it. It is about caring without clinging, loving without possessing, giving without expecting, and walking through life's inevitable storms without allowing them to become permanent residents of the soul. When this transformation is complete, people notice something different about us. We speak with greater patience. We listen more carefully. We react less impulsively. We no longer chase approval because our self-worth is no longer borrowed from others. We remain compassionate without becoming overwhelmed, and confident without becoming cold. In the end, emotional detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of wisdom. It is the quiet confidence that no matter what life brings, peace is no longer something we search for in the world around us. It has become something we carry within ourselves. And perhaps that is the greatest freedom of all, not escaping life's storms, but becoming the calm that endures through every one of them.